So Que of Day26, they were on Making the Band 4. He has finally come out and had a conversation about why he was so upset and crying in a lot of his interviews, talking about Diddy and that whole conversation. Yeah. And he is making some really huge allegations.
At this point, the walls aren't just getting closer, they're disintegrating in real time. And many who previously supported Sean Diddy Combs are now frantically trying to get away from him before the next revelation is made. This is more than just a resurgence of accusations. As federal prosecutors get closer, this is a live wire that is causing additional admissions, comments to be removed, and a public battle for credibility. Quim Mosley of Day26 gave a terrifying story at the center of it all, accusing Diddy of more than just planning a violent night. He said that Dawn Richards, his former lover, gave him the medication that caused him to go into a blackout. Dawn's denial suddenly disappeared from the internet as the story took off.
I was going crazy, bro, trying to figure out what's going on. And the things that I was feeling are coming to light now, and I'd be like, whoa, that had to be God, intervening and removing me from that situation, because it could have got really, really bad.
Let's be clear about what is at stake. In a group of accusers, Que isn't just an unidentified voice. He was once a pupil of one of the people shaped by the bad boy machine is Diddy. Furthermore, his tale goes beyond a single night spent in the Hamptons. It has to do with a system. He talked of waking up in the twin daughter's basement bedroom with the cameras running and his body responding in horror. In a heartfelt interview with Vlad TV, he claimed that it felt extremely selfless, a statement that suggests something far more deliberate than just describing fear. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't a bad party. Chi said that this was a setup. The betrayal is made much more acute by the fact that Dawn Richards, a person he trusted and later introduced to his family, is now at the center of it. This is where things get much trickier though. Dawn didn't simply reject it. Within hours, she removed a statement she had issued denouncing the charges as utterly untrue. Someone who is certain of their innocence wouldn't act that way. That is the action of someone who is aware that the earth underneath them is changing.
News Live reports Sean Diddy Combs is facing new assault allegations. The LA Sheriff's Department says that it's investigating a report from an alleged victim in Florida. That alleged victim has identified himself as music producer Jonathan Hay in social media posts that have since been removed. A spokesperson for Combs has not responded to ABC News' request for...
The ground is also moving. Diddy is no longer merely defending himself against litigation. In May 2025, he will stand trial in federal court on accusations of conspiracy, trafficking, and racketeering. Accusations that depict him as the mastermind behind a multi-decade scheme rather than a music mogul. There is more to Q's account than meets the eye. It comes after an increasing amount of testimony from former co-workers, security personnel, and even well-known celebrities who alluded to the darker aspects of Diddy's enterprise. Usher, who shared a home with Diddy when he was a youngster, has detailed some extremely strange events that took place there, things that a 13-year-old shouldn't have seen. After spending a 48-hour period with Diddy at the age of 15, Justin Bieber is now distancing himself from everyone involved in the controversy by unfollowing Usher and severing previous connections. The email comes next. They received 26 claims in a single day. Que claims that the one made him so uneasy that he alerted his family. This is the reason if I disappear. Cryptic allusions to sacrifices. A tone that caused adult men to cry in front of the camera. Although the email has not been made public, the fact that several group members independently remember its chilling effect indicates that it was a warning rather than merely paranoia. Let's now discuss Dawn Richards. There was more to her statement than a simple denial. The moment she pushed erase, her well-crafted defense fell apart. She asserted that Key's subsequent acts of inviting her into his house and presenting her to his sisters wouldn't make sense if he really thought she had sedated him. However, trauma defies reason. Relationships between survivors and their abusers are common, particularly when the perpetrators are part of power structures from which they are unable to break free. Not to mention that Dawn was a member of Diddy's inner circle. She wasn't merely an observer. She was present in the room where these claimed incidents took place. Que isn't the only reason for her abrupt reversal. It has to do with protecting oneself. Because Que's account does not only implicate Diddy if it is proven to be true, she is put in the same legal danger as a result. Additionally, since federal authorities are already looking into Diddy's activities, every retracted comment and deleted tweet begins to appear as an admission of guilt.
That he has, with others, and just because no one else has been charged, which normally in a RICO case you would have others charged, it was a statute that designed to get mob bosses, trying to get at criminal behavior that's like a web of criminal behavior that you can't necessarily prove, like the one thing or the statute of limitations expired on the other thing, but you're just showing this bad guy who's operating what's clearly an enterprise that over and over engages in criminal problems or criminal.
However, this is the question that ought to keep us all awake at night. How many others are telling the truth if we're involved in this? We're not discussing a single awful evening. We are discussing a pattern. The white parties, the freak-offs, the stories from security staff who allege they were dispatched on missions to acquire young women for after-hours gatherings. Men and women have filed lawsuits claiming they were videotaped, pressured, or worse. And now that Diddy's trial is approaching, the foundation's fissures are becoming canyons. According to insiders, his legal staff is in disarray. Former allies are switching sides, not to mention the tapes are still out there, just waiting to be discovered. Hugh's story may be the most incriminating to date because it goes beyond simply describing assault. It explains a procedure, a method, and more victims if there is a method. In the meantime, Diddy's defense is collapsing due to his own notoriety.
What's really going to be interesting is the parade of celebrities who we expect to be mentioned and or called into that courtroom. You know, people who we hadn't heard about prior, like Mike Myers, you know, Austin Powers, Mike Myers. Why is he getting called? Why is he on the witness list? That'll be fascinating. And then, of course, there are the no-name, quote unquote, women who are going to have to find every ounce of courage they have.
He crafted an aura of untouchable dominance for years. The New York King, the man who could wink and call forth a list, the career architect. However, the FBI does not raid monarchs. Sons of kings are not released in handcuffs. On national television, former protégés cry about nights that seem more like rituals than parties, but kings don't watch. Nevertheless, there is a feeling that we haven't yet witnessed the worst of it, even as the walls close in. Because Diddy wasn't merely preying on strangers if Que's account is accurate. He was going for members of his own social group, people who trusted him and those he had cultivated, and everything is altered by that. Let's not act as though this is solely about the demise of one man. The music industry is observing this with a mixture of calculation and fear. The same question is currently being asked by every artist who has ever been a part of Diddy's world. What did I observe? What did I overlook? Usher's has already moved away. Justin Bieber is cleaning up his social media accounts. Even Jay-Z, who remained mute for the most part, must be perspiring. Because Diddy isn't the only person the feds are considering if they are constructing a racketeering case. They are examining everyone who made him possible. It's a lengthy list. The private jets, the NDAs, the parties, the after-parties. And the constant murmurs were all written off as part of the way business is done. In other words, the industry is no longer viable, not in this manner. The time is another factor.
The feds, Al Capone style, have not charged everything under the sun. They've charged 3 main charges: racketeering, trafficking, and the transport of a... And I'll tell you, I don't know about the racketeering charge. It's pretty sweeping, and I'll tell you what the general element.
Diddy's legal team is rushing to suppress evidence before the trial. Therefore, Que's interview was canceled. According to sources, prosecutors possess genuine footage from the Hamptons estate on recordings. This isn't only a criminal case if those tapes are real and demonstrate what Que says. It's a cultural reckoning. Because we are discussing more than a single night spent in a basement. We are discussing a machine. A device that purportedly controlled people by using drugs, coercion, and the promise of fame. Several cases claim that the machine did more than only take advantage of adults. It went after the young, the weak, and those who believed they had a chance at their dream. Every artist who has ever used that equipment must ask themselves, was I next? If it is indeed real, did I already participate in it without realizing it? Here is what we cannot overlook though. Que won't be the last to speak up, nor is he the first. The dam has collapsed. The first lawsuit to go viral was Que Ventures. Subsequently, there were raids, federal charges, films, emails, tapes, and now the inner circle is betraying itself. The statement that Don Richards removed is more than just a retraction. It's a signal, a sign that the narrative they've all been telling themselves, that this would remain hidden, is no longer accurate. Furthermore, we ought to wonder what the people closest to Diddy know that we don't, if they are beginning to panic. Because Quaver's Don versus Diddy isn't the only issue here.
Very scary and weird to where I ran to get help. I ran to my doctor. I spoke up with my family. I spoke up to people around me because I was like, if this is true, and I'm caught missing or something, I want you guys to know facts and the truth of what I'm going through and experiencing.
This concerns a system that has been in operation for many years, and such systems don't fail silently. With lawsuits, leaking video, former friends turning state's evidence, and unexpected names coming to light, they fall apart in a disorganized manner. We're merely witnessing the tip of the iceberg, if the last few weeks have taught us anything. The question is not if there will be more, but rather how much more, and who will perish along with the ship. The texts that no one was supposed to view began to arrive at that point. Not only were the texts rolling in, but they were coming from people who had been close to Diddy for years. Those who had witnessed horrors they were unable to erase. And now they were finally pressing send as the federal news tightened. Quay's interview caused more than just pain. It tore the cover off a system that had been dormant for many years. At the core of that system was a culture of control that was so deeply embedded that victims occasionally turned into enforcers. Dawn Richards was more than simply an ex-girlfriend who got caught in the crossfire. She had climbed through the same process that supposedly broke Que, and she was a former bad boy artist. This raises the question of whether she was a participant, a pawn, or both. Because contracts, terror, and the unwritten rule that loyalty wasn't optional always made it difficult to distinguish between those roles in Diddy's universe. It was the cost of being alive. Let's discuss how that allegiance was upheld.
In the moment, it just felt like, what? Like, is this fun for him? Is this like a test?
We've heard tales of the A-list guest lists, the light parties, the all-white dress requirement, and the reputation as the most exclusive ticket available for entertainment. However, we haven't gone into enough detail about what transpired after the cameras stopped filming. These gatherings are now described in numerous lawsuits as hunting grounds, where the doors were sealed, the rules were straightforward, and the effervescent beverage was purportedly tainted. Either comply or vanish. The stories of others who have come forward are similar to Que's story of waking up in that basement bedroom, confused and on camera. Former adult film star Adria English alleged in her lawsuit that she was coerced into trafficking at these similar gatherings, where rejection was not an option, and the beverages were laced. Investigators were informed by a security officer who worked at the 2006 White Party that he witnessed Diddy take two young girls into a private room, where they remained for a full day. These are not isolated occurrences, they serve as a guide. Furthermore, if Quay's account is accurate, Dawn Richards wasn't merely present when it occurred. It is said that she was distributing the medicines. Now think about the power relationships involved. Diddy controlled more than just careers. He was in charge of lives. According to Que Ventures' lawsuit, he controlled her connections, tracked her whereabouts, and threatened her family if she attempted to leave. Usher, who lived with Diddy when he was a youngster, has talked about seeing situations that a 13-year-old shouldn't ever see. And when you consider that Justin Bieber was only 15 at the time, the unearthed videos of him making jokes about 48 hours with Diddy take on a menacing quality. These were tryouts for silence and compliance, not merely parties, and the benefits were enormous for those who complied. Record deals, Lamborghinis, access to the inner circle. However, the computer turned against them as soon as they went out of queue. Que's choice to speak up at this time is not only courageous, but also a calculated risk, because treason has always had dire repercussions in Diddy's universe. The FBI raids enter the picture at this point.
She saw no way out other than doing what he told her to do. He had mentally controlled her. It's like a pimp. Diddy had pimp potential. He had her mind messed up where it controlled.
Agents weren't merely searching for evidence when they broke into Diddy's homes in Miami and Los Angeles in March 2024. They were dispatching a message. Hard disks, phones, and what sources claimed to be a sizable amount of controlled narcotics were among the items seized. The cassettes, however, are the true reward. According to insiders, prosecutors had video from the Hamptons mansion, which is where Que claims he was videotaped and sedated. This is no longer only a criminal matter if those videos are real and demonstrate what witnesses have described. It's a full-fledged revelation of the covert operations of the industry's elite. Furthermore, Diddy is not the only one who has to be concerned. Everyone who has ever gone to those gatherings is involved. Everyone who has ever turned a blind eye or profited from the quiet. However, there is a problem with these kinds of systems. They only function when no one speaks. And the silence is shattering at the moment. The first domino was Que's interview. Then came documentaries like Diddy, Hiding in Plain Sight, which graphically described the abuse patterns. The former workers then began to speak, outlining their efforts to find young women for events held after work. Subsequently, the lawsuits accumulated, each one contributing to the same terrifying image. And now that Diddy's trial is approaching, the pressure is increasing. Because if Que's account is true, it implies that many other people are aware of the precise events that took place in those rooms. Additionally, some of them are beginning to understand that remaining silent could be more harmful than speaking up. Not to be overlooked is the financial power Diddy used as a weapon.
He seemed to be taking this kind of matter seriously. Now, I will just kind of preface it and say it. I haven't seen the documentary, but it's not out of the realm, or it's not out of the norm that she even went on this documentary as well, too, because she had previously gone on another documentary and kind of talked about her client's accusations against Diddy as well, too. So I was surprised that they brought up this particular documentary. Again, I don't know the extent of what she had said, but the defense seemed very annoyed in a way. And
Additionally, artists who signed with Bad Boy owed him everything, not just their careers. Claims in Cassie's lawsuit she was compelled to give up her home, her masters, and her publishing rights. Day26 has been candid about how, despite their fame, they were left penniless. Inexplicably, their earnings disappeared into the label's coffers. Then there were the NDAs, which were unbreakable contracts that guaranteed anyone who left the group did so silently. However, this is the issue with NDAs. They only function when individuals are afraid to break them, and the fear is changing at the moment. The arrests, the raids, and the handcuffed release of Diddy's own sons. All of this is conveying a clear message. There is no longer any protection. The monarch is shackled, and many who have been silent for years are now reevaluating the hazards. Thus, we return to Dawn Richards. Her comment that was removed wasn't merely a retraction, it was a clue. Why remove the denial if she really had nothing to conceal? Why not put in even more effort? The solution is straightforward. She is aware of what is about to happen. She is not alone either. Prosecutors are allegedly switching witnesses and granting immunity to lower-level players in return for testimony against Diddy, according to sources close to the inquiry. This implies that those who used to impose the silence are now the ones most inclined to violate it. Additionally, the dominoes won't just fall if they start conversing. In an avalanche, they will crumble, because it goes beyond a single night in the Hamptons. It's about a system that supposedly ran for decades, with Diddy at its core and a revolving group of enablers keeping it going. Furthermore, such machines always take a few humans with them when they fall down. Let's now discuss the cassettes.
Got this new audio from the Diddy trial, and it is pretty explosive. This is audio of a voicemail that Diddy left to the Jane Doe who's been testifying in this trial for the last couple days. And he sounds really annoyed. He's talking about her maybe giving him the silent treatment, and his response is, I got a busy life. I can't be dealing with your silent treatment, and we got to...
The ones that everyone is talking about, the ones that the FBI is said to have taken during those raids. They don't, if they exist, just display the alleged offenses of Diddy. They demonstrate how everyone in his immediate vicinity is complicit. The assistants who set up the private meetings, the security personnel who turned a blind eye, and the other artists who took part voluntarily or under coercion. And Diddy won't be the only one on trial if those tapes are ever made public. It will be a whole sector. Diddy didn't work in a Hoover, let's face it. He had assistants. He was protected. Additionally, he had a network of people who opted to remain silent up until this point, while being fully aware of what was going on. Although Kui's choice to speak up may have been the catalyst, the fire is already spreading. According to reports, other bad boy graduates are consulting with solicitors to balance the legal dangers with their personal narratives. Details of the freak-off culture, where boundaries were dissolved and refusal meant exile, are being revealed by former employees. And then there was the email that Que claims scared him, the one that purportedly mentioned sacrifices. That email is more than just proof if it is real and as damaging as he says it is. It serves as a roadmap to additional victims, locations, and crimes. Additionally, those who own that roadmap are no longer merely perusing it. They are beginning to converse. Here's the twist though. It gets riskier the more people talk. Because music wasn't the only foundation of Diddy's empire. It was founded on leverage, secrets, and the kind of information that can ruin reputations, marriages, and careers. Furthermore, not everyone who kept those secrets is a saint, but few of them have skeletons of their own. The system was advantageous to some of them. Even when it collapses, some of them may still be defending it. This implies that Kui's bravery can have a price, because those who violate ranks are not only blacklisted, but also targeted in a society where allegiance is imposed through fear. Not only is Diddy's trial still months away, but it's unclear who else will come forward. Who will attempt to quiet them first? At that point, the messages became more sinister. Offers, not merely cautions or threats. People are being paid to remain silent. According to one industry insider, the folks who stand to lose the most are not simply Diddy's staff, labels, and attorneys. Because this is the problem with controversies of this nature. They do more than merely reveal the guilty. They make the system visible. Additionally, the system is fiercely defending itself. What does that mean for us now? With a music tycoon incarcerated, an expanding list of accusers, and a federal prosecution that may soon reveal one of the most sinister periods in the history of entertainment. More than that, though, it gives us an option, because someone is currently sitting on a recording, a contract, a text message, or a memory. Additionally, people are debating whether to speak up or remain silent. And if they do, this is no longer merely a scandal. There is an earthquake. At that point, we need to find out how many more names are on those cassettes. Because the true question isn't whether additional victims will come forward, whether QA's story is only the beginning. It's the moment. You won't want to miss what comes next, we assure you. Remember that the truth doesn't simply surface, it explodes. And maintain your sharpness and curiosity. We'll be observing. Until the next occasion,